My journey with SF. What am I trying to accomplish with this YouTube channel? When I was in public school, science fiction was presented to me as an attempt to predict the future. Jules Verne's many supposed accurate predictions were held up as examples. H.G. Wells was not so predictive, but was considered a serious British thinker and author. Huxley was rarely mentioned, but George Orwell was frequently trotted out. If I made mention of any contemporary SF authors, I was likely to be poo pooed by the teacher. It seemed the educational system had grudgingly admitted these few into the canon and wanted to discredit any outliers. Like most kids, I was initially drawn to science fiction because it was different from anything I was experiencing in my daily life. It was an easy way for me to escape from the existential doldrums, and because it involved actual reading, my parents held it in slightly higher regard than comic books or television. Though my grandparents would have preferred I was reading the Bible, and my folks steered me towards Steinbeck and Hemingway. My friends who read SF were divided into two groups: those who wanted at least a nod to scientific reality, and those, like me, who just wanted extreme weirdness. Most of the SF fans I knew personally were in the first category. They had fathers who worked in the defense industry, and they excelled in science and math classes. I liked art and literature, mythology, fantasy, horror, and celebrity biographies. On my path toward SF, I had enjoyed fantasies like The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum, the horror stories of Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft, the enthusiastic horror SF hybrid tales of Ray Bradbury, and anything dealing with unexplained phenomena. I was convinced the world was a much stranger place than my teachers and politicians would have had me believe. I felt like my hard science friends were wearing blinders. I still feel that way. And with each passing year, physicists, IT gurus, and geneticists provide evidence that my suspicions were probably correct. I became interested in filmmaking in 1970 and started producing little ridiculous movies with my friends. Later, the home video boom made it possible for me to pursue film production as a career. I wanted to make horror and science fiction movies, but usually I had to work on low budget action films if I wanted to stay busy. There is a link to my film credits in the channel description. What am I doing here? Am I bragging, trying to convince you that I'm special in some way? No, in fact, quite the opposite. I am a science fiction fan who pursued that love as a reader, a writer, and a filmmaker. I was born to teenage working class parents in 1958. Whenever I expressed my desire to be a writer or a filmmaker, I was told it wasn't going to happen. Kids from Fort Worth, Texas did not grow up to do those things. If I was smart, they told me, I should get good grades and plan on working for one of the big defense contractors. The problem was I couldn't settle for that. When I heard about others doing creative things, it just convinced me that I could do the same. And that's the sort of attitude I want to encourage in anyone watching this channel. Science fiction led me into a lot of strange, wonderful, and sometimes profitable situations. I refused to believe such things were only for others. That's what science fiction did for me. What's it doing for you? I want you to think of science fiction as a very personal experience. I want you to get whatever you can out of it. Forget what so-called authorities or experts say. You do not have to buy what they're selling. I enjoy science fiction for my own reasons. After almost 60 years of reading science fiction, I can still get very excited when I discover a book that somehow expands my consciousness. I'd like for you to approach the genre with the same unbridled enthusiasm. Science fiction is not for the experts, the successful writers, or the academics who teach classes. It's for you and me, for our pleasure, and for the empowerment and expansion it can deliver. Whether that makes sense to you or not, that's what this channel is all about.